thank each and every one of you for taking your time to come this morning. Certainly Congressman Brady, to take the time out of his busy schedule to come by and visit with law enforcement here in Montgomery County. But thank each one of you for being here, and that we will have the opportunity to talk to the congressman about some of the things that is important to us in public safety. And certainly it's good to have Congressman Brady here. The congressman is currently serving his 6th term in Congress, representing the 8th District of Texas in the U.S. House of Representatives. The 8th District encompasses Montgomery County, Walker County, San Jacinto, Tyler, Pope, Hardin, Jasper, Newton, Orange, and parts of Trinity and Liberty County. I thought Montgomery County was a big area to cover, but man, we hate that job. Congressman Brady serves on the Ways and Means Committee, the Joint Economic Committee, and the House Policy Committee. He has many major legislative accomplishments. I'm not even going to list all of them, but I'm sure that most of y'all that know the congressman certainly knows the things that he's done. The most important of this is that the congressman is a friend of small business, our seniors, the taxpayers, law enforcement, and is against government waste. And he lives in Montgomery County, down in the woodlands. I can tell you one thing, he's a good friend. If you ever need to talk to the congressman, you call Sarah. If he's in Washington and she tells you she'll get back with you, and she gives you a time that the congressman will be calling, stand by the phone. Says 2 o'clock, the phone will ring. But he'll always call you back. He takes care of the people that he's responsible for. And each one of us appreciate that. And again, we appreciate the congressman being here, and it's my pleasure to present our United States Congressman, my friend, Kevin Brady.
First, like the Sheriff, I want to thank you for taking time to be here today. I really have a goal, which is to learn as much as I can from you about how we can be more helpful. But Sheriff, thanks for putting this together and taking leadership on this. As you and I talked, this county is almost 400,000 people strong. There's new challenges every day in law enforcement and terrorism prevention and firefighters and emergency personnel and all that. And somehow, thankfully, we've got a leader, you as Sheriff, that's created the right environment for everyone to work together. And that's really gave me the idea to have a listening session, sort of the way you approach your job. So thank you for doing that. Dan, thanks for putting the event together as well. So it took a lot of work. Thank you. I have a couple of people with me too. Sarah Stevens is our new district director. Y'all may have known Heather Montgomery, who was with me for many years at Chamber Work and also in the district office. And Sarah's our new district director. And Todd Stevens is our new regional issues person. He was, like Sarah, with us in Washington. Many of you worked with him on all the Hurricane Rita and Katrina emergency personnel grants. We have always wanted someone on the ground in Texas, especially with this big district, that knows lakes, rivers, roads, emergency personnel. You know what I mean? All the hurricane preparedness stuff. And also knows the appropriations process. So we're sort of fortunate to have Todd and Sarah with us. Appreciate you being here. There is, things are changing in law enforcement. You know this. But I'm not in law enforcement. I leave every Monday at 1 o'clock, fly from Washington to work, come back here, at the end of the week, be with my family, and also to travel this district. And I know we've got a lot of challenges from drugs to meth to terrorism issues. I just want to make sure before this session, which just started, David, before it really gears up, that I get a little time to do some listening about how we can help more. I'm a conservative Republican, so I don't think we should be spending federal dollars to do ought to care enough to support their police and their firefighters, emergency personnel. But there's a whole bunch of areas where we overlap, where partnerships really do work, and whether it is preparing for hurricanes, getting equipment on firefighter training, getting ready for a possible terrorism incident, where we need to be helping you. What I don't know, Chief, is where we actually do help you. You know, which grants that we got out there really do help you do your job, which one are more paperwork than they're worth. You know, are the local law enforcement dollars are they in a way a source that you guys can actually put them to use? The monies you use for emergency preparedness, are they what you need in Montgomery County? And I went through and looked at a bunch of the areas where we get money for the 8th Congressional District. Like after 9/11, Congress just shoved a bunch of money out the door on Homeland Security. Sort of did it an inch deep and a mile wide all across the country. We're trying to change that now to go to more risk-based, threat-based communities. In this part of Texas, the Houston region, southeast Texas, is ranked as one of the top high-risk areas in the whole nation. All you have to do is look at our refineries and pipelines, and energy companies and ports and everything else to know why we'd be. If you really wanted to put a stick in the spoke of the U.S. economy, you put it right here in Houston region. So even more important that you're geared up in advance of that. New firefighter grants, we've dramatically increased the amount of dollars for firefighter grants and training issues like that. I want to make sure it's going to where it ought to. The 8th District of Texas, last year we received about $2 million from the Department of Homeland Security firefighter grants, state and local law enforcement, emergency management, first responder training. We got $1.5 million in urban areas security initiative for high threat, high density areas. Firefighter grants, assistance and firefighter grants. We received $1.1 million last year. And then this year, Congress is again trying to change the way we allocate our Homeland Security funding. The House just passed another bill. We've done this several times. It gets away from the population-based formula and goes to threat and vulnerability. The House keeps passing it. In truth, the Senate keeps blocking it. You know, the senators want money to go to every state, you know, on a fairly equal basis. Our argument is, look, the terrorists are not going to strike randomly. Don't send their money out randomly. Let's put it to the areas that we really think are heavy. So it isn't changed it, but we're again pushing the Senate to go with more of a threat-based formula, looking at trying to focus the firefighter grants a little more on preparedness rather than some of the capital type equipment issues like that. But Sheriff, with your permission, I'd just like to stop right now if I could and take some comments, issues, red flags we need to be looking out for. And again, I admire every one of you for maybe in law enforcement, emergency personnel, and firefighters. I don't know that I'm sturdy enough a person to do what you do. I'm grateful that you are. I just want to make sure we're doing all we can to help you. So why don't you stop and take some comments or thoughts from you guys on programs that work, ones that don't, changes you're seeing that we need to be aware of or getting geared up for. It's Monday morning, so I just want easy questions and easy comments. Too early to hammer me yet. Thoughts? Dick?
What about something that I think would be important, this might be a good group to start it, and that's communications, not only countywide, but a district, so that we communicate with Harris County and those folks in any type of emergency. Walker County, those surrounding counties that somewhere or another we need to be plugged into them. We used to be under the old way to inner city or I guess that's Dayton. Back in the day, when Ike was young, he could talk to anybody in the state. He could get on County 4 and go across. If there's something like that available or money, that to me would be a good spending of federal dollars to link communications.
There's, the bill that just passed the House a couple weeks ago, there's one whole section devoted to interoperability and trying to find ways to help bridge those gaps. What I don't know is how big of a problem is it today in this county? It's big. Is it just the technology doesn't fit with each other or different groups?
Chief Daniels is our lead man on that. He give you more information.
Well, we certainly have a communications problem when we have unlike radio systems in the region. As an example, Montgomery County operates on a Mcso system, whereas the vast majority of the rest of the region operates on a Motorola system. And we are actually currently in the process of undergoing a consultation project. We've hired a consulting group to look at what our strategic needs are. And in fact, one of our meetings is today to determine where we need to go. But it was so much simpler, as the constable talked about earlier. Where before 800, you could literally go anywhere in this state and talk to someone. Whereas now, with the advent of 800 and 700, frequency systems, you can go somewhere and not be able to talk to anyone. So it is a problem. And, just, as a particular for Montgomery County, we are surrounded by the regional radio system, so we're an island unto ourselves. Now, we have purchased equipment that allows for a temporary patch where, our radios can talk to Motorola radios. But, a lot of us see that as a temporary fix where, we would like to have something a little bit more consistent and fluid that, we don't have to worry about talking to someone and having them turn it on and fire it up and telling everyone else, what channel to go to on, that type of thing. But, ease of operation is what we're looking for, and the ability to communicate across boundaries.
Especially in a RETA type situation.
And the cost of these systems and replacement of radios and infrastructure is tremendous.
Is really,
Oh, it's
what's
tremendous.
an example?
Just a ballpark figure, we're just looking around $14 million here in Montgomery County.
Really?
I applied for improvement district grant for 8 radios, $23,000 for 8 pieces of equipment.
That adds up quick.
And we're looking at, replacing, looking at with this consultant on what we should do, because our radios are getting old. We need to make a decision one way or the other, because the equipment and the equipment in the field is old, and we have more than 30 agencies in this county that depend upon us to dispatch, and we're the base station, so we're the ones taking the lead on trying to decide what we're going to do.
Where are you gonna go with it?
We're going to meet with the consultants today, and they're meeting with everybody in the county. I mean, they're meeting at different times with, different entities to discuss their needs and complaints and trying to determine what direction we need to take.
How do you pay for $14 million?
Good question. The reason I'm saying that is because being in the Urasi region here that you spoke of earlier, you only get so much money, and you've got Fort Bend County, you've got Brazoria County, you've got Montgomery County, you've got Walker County, you've got Harris County, and we're all vying for those interoperable communications dollars. And it's a huge project, and there's only so much money.
And you also have the city of Houston that needs $150 million.
Yeah, the city of Houston.
What is that, right?
Oh, yeah. The city they had a consultant that told them they need to spend $150 million before they get turned off by the FCC, because they're on high band radios and they've got to go to digital radio system. And that's why they're in that predicament that they're in, is because they've not fed money into improvement of the system.
That's the key one, communication.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Congressman, I'd just like to encourage y'all to keep the safer grant for firefighter, funding. We've applied for it several times, we haven't been successful, but Montgomery County in particular is growing, and we're making a change from volunteers to paid firefighters, and, we really need some assistance in the manpower side of it. There's been quite a few grants that's been given out for stuff that I don't feel is very important when it comes to the grand scheme of things, when we need manpower so bad, but there's some fire departments, they've gotten grants for exercise equipment, and they've gotten grants for, smoke, pollutants in the fire stations and stuff, and that, if they could transfer some of that money like that, where you can give more grants for firefighters that are actually going to have to be doing the work, because the volunteers, really in this whole nation, is going by the wayside because people are working, they're busy, the mom and pop jobs aren't there where they can leave during the day, they go, and our call volume has just went through the roof, particularly since Katrina. I mean, we're running several, probably 100 to 120 calls every month, just in our local area where I work.
Is the greatest need in the training or in equipment like
Well,
breathing
training-
apparatus and things that expire or things like that? What's-
Training dollars is great. Also, we're fixing to send Montgomery County, in this food grant money, we're sending, 27 firefighters to A&M.
Thanks, sir.
Structure collapse. We're sending 9 from Lake Conroe. I think Conroe's sending 9, there's a couple others, but that just pays for the training, which is $2,000 a person. It's an 8-day, 10-hour class. But the problem is the city of Conroe, they have to backfill those positions, Lake Conroe has to backfill those positions, and that's overtime dollars. So, where we're getting that money, the $2,000 per man to go to A&M, we're having to pay the hotel bill, the food bill, and plus I have to backfill those spots at the station. And I know Conroe's in the same boat.
At least told you brought your checkbook.
It's your checkbook.
But manpower and training as far as, that's, to me, on the fire side is really important, and also communications. But I would just encourage you to keep that safer grant.
Well, we've, Congress, Washington's really, again, fairly dramatically increased the number of firefighter grants over the last 3 or 4 years, especially with, again, terrorism becoming a major issue for us. And firefighters, emergency personnel really now are the front line on so much of that, and it's really changing. We need to step up and help where we can. So.
Just another area that firefighters face, I don't know about law enforcement, but we're mandated so many times by the NFPA and the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and so forth to provide a certain level of service. They don't care if you have the money or not. They just say, you're gonna do this, and you gotta come up with the money, and a lot of times you have to take money that could be paying a firefighter or a police officer on the street to get some equipment that's mandated to us by the federal or the state government.
In the House bill, as you were talking, I was thinking that some of the changes are sort of focusing first responder funding on updating equipment, strengthening performing exercises, strengthen terrorism preparedness, training for prevention, developing the updated state homeland security plan, sharing terrorism threat information, additional personnel costs. What they're looking at restricting is using Homeland Security funds or firefighter funds to supplant state or local funds, contract buildings or other physical facilities, acquire land, or reimburse funds. Those restrictions be any problem? What else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Congressman, for coming out and doing this. I'm Jay Dodson. I live in the Woodlands, and these gentlemen here and ladies do an excellent job in this county and in this region. And I heard you say that, and I agree with you, I'm a fiscal conservative too, but I think the time has come that law enforcement in general has taken a big hit by the funds, the LIFR funds that has no longer gone to the COPS office to help with some of the hiring. As someone who spent 30 years in this particular profession, and now I'm back into this wonderful community living here, I'm working with the Woodlands to help them add some additional law enforcement. The Woodlands is blessed to have the resources to do that. Other parts of our county, and I love this county, I've lived here 14 years before I went off to become chief in Tennessee and came back again. But I know these men and women are really strapped when it comes to manpower and staffing. And if there's any way possible that you could try to go back and see about getting some more funding into the COPS office to help with some of these hiring grants. You know, I feel bad at what I'm doing, because basically we're robbing Peter to pay Paul when we're trying to put more people into the Woodlands because the Woodlands can afford it. Some of our fellow residents throughout the rest of the county can't afford to do that. And I think the only way we're going to be able to overcome some issues like that is we've got to get some more monies back into bringing more people into this community and controlling hiring. Because you read where Houston is struggling, but Houston is one of the competitors in this community, in this county, when it comes to hiring more people to put on the street. And we talk about first responders and we talk about fighting terrorism. But in this country, the terrorists are going to be stopped by the first responders on the street without a shadow of a doubt. We don't have them to put on the street, Congressman. Chances are the terrorists are going to continue to do what they need to do. And so I appreciate you coming to here. I may be speaking out of terms, but I think as one who has shed blood in this community as a police officer in Houston and given a lot of things trying to protect our nation, I just want to see if you could help bring some more resources back by way of putting more people on the street. We need technologies, but also I think we need the bodies out there, because these men and women are humping the calls throughout this whole region. And I know they are in this county because I've ridden with them, and I know that they're up against the leaders here, the constables and the sheriffs and the chiefs are doing an excellent job of managing what they have, but I think the cupboard is running bare, and there needs to be some assistance that you can help out. And I'll do whatever I can to help you from the position that I'm in right now.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
I have two concerns with the COPS program. One is that, I think local communities that have the resources ought to step up and provide local law enforcement. That ought to be one of the highest priorities they have in their budget, maybe the one they start with every year. And secondly, my concern is it seems like monies go to the communities that can most afford it in the first place, the ones that have the grant writers, the ones that have all the resources and the, you know what I mean, the big delegations. In the smaller communities, that need the help the most don't have anything to spit in, have the most trouble accessing those grants. I don't know if we just need to change at the state level, or federal level, make it easier for them. Because in our district, as you know, starts Louisiana border, goes up from Orange to Toledo Bend, all the communities over here. Since representing them, I've really come to appreciate how many resources we have in Montgomery County. A lot of places would give anything for, but there's parts of Montgomery County that just don't. I know we're growing in every corner, but that doesn't necessarily translate to more resources. You got more crime, more problems, more challenges. So that's the second concern. I wish we could find a better way to help the smaller agencies and communities that really can use. If we're going to put money in there, then let's put it somewhere where they really are maxing out what they can do, and so we're helping them hit that standard. Yes.
One issue that we have here in the region and working with the Urban Area Security Initiative Group is the Homeland Security's critical infrastructure list does not include a lot of our critical infrastructure in the Houston region.
Yeah.
So where we need help in trying to
There have been changes on help from the feds on local law enforcement that's causing problems, or
Kevin, I work a lot of cases throughout the whole community, work with a lot of these guys, and I want to tell you, we have a lot of fine men and women out there working these cases, and it's like it's fed right back into their face. I mean, you drive around the corner, you see a bunch of illegals sitting out here. We take an oath to enforce all those laws. And then we go around, I've got one guy that I have deported 3 different times for drug offenses and whatnot. And I've seen him back in our community this week. And, it's like selective law enforcement. We can't get anything done with some of the laws we need to attend to because there's no punch to it. We get more punch going around finding grandma able to maintain a single mark lane, and what it amounts to is the law enforcement is able to enforce the law on law-abiding citizens. All those others, it just don't apply. You know? And we take them and fill his jail up and different things like that, and, you know, you just wonder what the outcome is gonna be, because the middle class and upper class generation is getting small, okay? And, it's really very hard to support your community when those are the only people you can go after. I mean, there's a lot of good people in these communities that we support and whatnot, but they don't know what to do. Everybody's at their beck and hand. Law enforcement says it's beck and hand. You know, terrorism, you know, you wanna walk in every 7-Eleven and say, to see your car. You know, you wanna, when you go around the corner, and then there's federal laws that are educating, doing things like this, and it makes the young officer, try to figure out which way he needs to be going, you know, and whatnot. It takes you 4 years to get a guy off the trip of writing traffic tickets and stuff, trying to chase a few criminals, you know, and stuff like that. And then when he gets them pushed back on his feet, he just, gets rebuilt.
You know, Kevin, I'm glad you brought that up, because I got a call Friday evening from the Mexican consulate wanting to know if we had a particular person in jail here in Montgomery County. And I called and talked to Captain Green, and yes, we had him in there. He was picked up on the DWI, got his number, everything, gave it to the Mexican consulate. This was the third time. The man's been deported 3 times, and he's back in our jail on the DWI with an INS hold on.
And physically deported,
Yes,
physically gone.
yes,
Back
physically
gone.
back across the border. His wife had already been sent back across the border and had made an inquiry with the Mexican consulate in Dallas. And the guy said, you know, from the Mexican consulate, he's making a trip down, Captain Green's got to spend time with him. If we didn't have to keep these people in, and I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but if we didn't have to keep them in our jails, it just does not make good sense to me, and I don't see how anyone can say that it is actually good for the economy with what it costs in the way of medical care, education, and the drain that they are. Why can't we have some enforcement at that border to put them back across the border and keep them there?
And that makes way too much sense. You know that's not going to happen. No, don't quote me on it. It is true. Can I take you to Washington to make that same point?
Yes.
Because we don't, some people don't get, what kind of relationship do you have with federal immigration agencies?
We've got a good relationship with them. In fact, they have an agent that's stationed at the jail and interviews prisoners on a daily basis.
Here?
Yes, sir. And
So they're responsible if you pick someone up, you know, on a violation, you call them, do they come get them?
yes, sir, they do.
That's good. That's good. Where do they take?
To the, there's a ICE detention center in Houston.
But your point is you see them back on the streets.
Well,
A
that,
couple weeks later. I know.
It's a revolving door. They cross the border and then the door revolves and they're right back.
Does it take a lot of the resources for the law enforcement here? I mean, are you spending a lot of resources on that, or just, is it growing, staying the same, you know, aggravating other problems?
Certainly, it's for us to house them, I mean, that's one of our biggest financial issues.
So you have to house them during the jail sentence and all, does ICE come get them after that, do they report them beforehand?
Well, you know, it depends on what the disposition of their case is. The ones that are going to TDC, then that detainer goes with them, and when they're released from the state penitentiary, then ICE handles them. Otherwise, they're deported directly from our jail facility.
Pretty timely,
Yes, sir.
like 24 hours, 48 hours?
That part's timely. What's not always timely is the amount of time they spend in jail waiting to get a disposition on their court case.
They have to have an
part of that, so,
And if you really want an earful, go talk to the teachers.
yeah.
Congressman, this is typical of our problem, is that a lot of us have fought for and have been involved in even the process of making laws. And it's disappointing to us to, day after day, we get out here and enforce the law. And it's sort of thrown back in our face when these people, like our constable says, I look up and there he is again. And something can be done. I have confidence in you and our country. Something can be done. And it just needs, people need to stand up and say, we're not gonna have this anymore. And it's time it's done.
It is, country that can't control its own borders, can't control its own future. That's just it. And I keep saying this, that people are tired of hearing about, I keep saying, we need to keep the back door of illegal immigration shut, so you can keep the front door of legal immigration open. People who want to come here, play by the rules, make a better life, thank goodness for them. You know, but we have to insist they do it the right way. I mean, and that's not too much to ask. This country, and since 9/11, you know, thankfully we haven't had an attack here, but we've had some foil. We don't know the difference between someone coming across the border, better their life, or someone coming across here to plan the next attack. We don't know. So about 60% of the people in their court for meth cases are women. Many of them married. Man, it just scares you how quickly that's grown. And I understand, I think the state's changes, I'm told, on precursors and some of those ingredients has been helpful. Now there's more coming across the border, I think, coming up here. Isn't that right? That there's more problems on that. Can you guys tell me a little about that?
I think I can speak to that, Congressman. As you can know from the history of meth, as we add on precursor laws, as we change even from in the old days, it's all came up to the same. And this is one of the prime examples right here of how they go from the local manufacturer, and when we cut off their precursors through laws and such, then they have to go outside to obtain the drug, and now it's coming across the border, which is another reason, an added emphasis to what you've been trying to do about the control of the borders and bringing that methamphetamine drugs across. It definitely is a major problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem, because they saw that since we had enacted our laws, then the Mexican nationals have realized that this is a lucrative business for them now to bring methamphetamine across as opposed to cocaine and marijuana in the past. And it's become a major issue for the United States of America as well as for Texas, for sure. And in our area specifically, we have had a very active group. Our SIU unit here, along with the local group, is a very active group in dealing with methamphetamine laboratories. Therefore, we're seeing much more of the influx of drugs from outside coming in due to the fact that we've shut so many labs down here in the county. One thing we need to look at, though, also is with the children and such, is this problem with going to their own mom and dad's bathroom cabinet and taking the Xanax and such out, and that's a major problem we all are seeing out here in the road is the use of those.
And not like I know, but all I know is I hear in the neighborhood.
It's there.
Prescription drugs are, man, it's not like when we were growing up. It's a whole different deal. Scared you to
Lost
death.
three children in my district in the past 6 months.
Really?
We need your